just listen to me now. We are going to stop these retail clawbacks together. All of us, we're going to band together. We're going to get the pitchforks. We're going to get the lanterns. We're going to go under the banner of rough justice. We just passed the one-year anniversary of Celsius filing for bankruptcy. A dark day in crypto history and the end of one of the largest crypto companies ever built. Lots happened since then, and it's been hard to keep up with all the new developments throughout the still ongoing bankruptcy process. I've been very active, calling lawyers on live streams, arguing with security guards, and just generally trying to keep up with this garbage fire. To mark this one-year anniversary and Alex Mashinsky's recent arrest, it's time to do a retrospective to see how far things have come, and more importantly, refocus on where they might be going. This one really makes my blood boil, so grab your thermometers. Things are about to heat up. Let's get it. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is Ben. All right, let's talk Celsius. First, the backstory. Celsius Network was a centralized crypto lending and trading platform that was based in the US. Celsius was founded in 2017 by Alex Mashinsky, Daniel Leon, and Nuke Goldstein. And no, I'm not going to make any nuke puns in this video, but the irony of his name is not lost on me. It would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. Celsius launched with an ICO in 2018, selling 325 million cell tokens, 20 cents each, and raising about $50 million. Now, fun fact, the first blockchain conference I ever went to was in July of 2018. I think it was called the Blockchain World Conference. John McAfee was the main speaker, was in Atlantic City, but he didn't show up in person because he was on the run, as he always was. So he called in the next day, but guess who took his spot in July of 2018 to shill Celsius on stage for probably the first time? That's right, my first run-in with Alex Mashinsky. And I gotta be honest, I was blown away by what he said because he said a lot of good things, gave you a lot of confidence. But Celsius grabbed a lot of attention, of course, right away by offering incredibly high yield on digital assets. Well, I've got your attention. Be sure to go ahead and smash that like button. That puts you in the BitSquad and makes you stay up to date with the latest and greatest in the world of crypto. So in order to get the highest rates, Celsius users would have to hold a significant amount of their portfolio in cell tokens and be willing to get paid in cell too. So the employees took their bonuses in cell. Celsius implemented a buyback program and a burn for their cell tokens as well, making it operate in a similar fashion to FTX's FTT token. Now, all this should have been more of a red flag than it was at the time, but the rates they were paying on most assets without the cell bonus weren't that unreasonable based on what was available from DeFi and staking at the time. But in hindsight, if someone's offering yield that sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Tokens burned, lessons learned. Celsius was also offering incredibly low rates on lending services, which again could be lowered further if users held enough cell tokens. Now, in order to pay out these unusually high rates, Celsius would do anything and everything to earn yield. Lend it out, play in DeFi, stake, mine, and get downright degen on leverage longs. But we'll come back to that later. At the peak of the Ponzi, Celsius was holding an estimated $30 billion worth of crypto, and users were earning about $3 million of yield per day, which made them one of the biggest centralized players in all of crypto, and a respected brand name platform, for a while at least. Okay, so where did Celsius begin to collapse? And it's hard to pinpoint exactly, but it seems to have started in July of 2021 when liquid staking platform Stakehound lost the keys to $74 million of staked ETH, most of which belonged to Celsius. Then in November of 2021, Yaron Shalem, CFO of Celsius, was arrested in Israel on money laundering charges, which again, in retrospect, just wow. This was one big red flag that we gave no attention to. Shortly after that, in December of 2021, Badger DAO suffered an exploit, which impacted Celsius for an estimated $50 million of wrapped Bitcoin. A month later, in January 2022, it was finally announced that the SEC was investigating Celsius and other high-yield crypto lenders in the US. Celsius apparently struck a deal to avoid being shut down if they limited their high-yield products to accredited investors. Thanks so much for all the investor protection on that one, Gary. Great job, really. Outstanding work. Fast forward to April, and most of retail had pulled out of the platform to look for yield where they didn't have to be accredited. Celsius's assets had dropped to $11 billion by May of 2022, and they had invested $500 million into Bitcoin mining operations that were a long way from being profitable. Then, before we knew it, the unthinkable happened, and all hell broke loose. Terra Luna's UST lost its peg, and a project with a $40 billion market cap disappeared almost overnight, kicking off waves of collapsing crypto companies. Three Arrows, Voyager Digital, FTX, and others, including Celsius, of course. Now, Celsius claimed to have cashed out of Luna and UST prior to the collapse. And that appears to be true, but rumors still ran wild that they were insolvent. In June of 2022, ETH devs delayed the merge, again, which was significant because it meant that all of the staked ETH on liquid staking platform Lido Finance would remain locked up on the Beacon chain for longer, while we all waited for the merge to happen. Panic set in, and there was a rush to swap Lido's STETH, or staked ETH, for ETH. SBF's Alameda Research, for example, redeemed 50,000 staked ETH tokens in a single move, along with a lot of other large players. The rush to exit staked ETH pushed it off its peg to the price of ETH, and this led to fears that Celsius wouldn't be able to get the ETH needed to honor withdrawals since they were one of the largest holders of staked ETH. And that, my friends, is how you start a bank run. Celsius users pulled out en masse, and Celsius was forced to pause all withdrawals on the 12th of June, 2022. Before Celsius goes bankrupt, let's take a quick pause, take a word from our sponsor, Stake. All right, back to it. On July 13th, Celsius filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That time, they appeared to be about $1.2 billion in the hole. Blame and excuses started being thrown around right away. Timothy Cradle, Celsius's former compliance and financial crimes director, said that although he didn't believe that Celsius was corrupt, the biggest issue was a failure of risk management. To be honest, this has to be one of the biggest understatements of all time. That's like saying the United States has a little bit of debt. Thanks for that insight there, Timothy. Great job on directing the financial crimes at Celsius. Came out that Celsius had spent about $350 million of customer funds on its buyback and burn program. And Decrypt reported that Celsius had lost almost the same amount of customer funds on high-risk leverage trading. Talking about the buy-bit sweats, am I right? That's got to be one of the most degen business practices I've ever heard, outside of FTX, of course. But we'll get to that in a minute. Now, throughout the bankruptcy, I have to say, Celsius community has been incredibly engaged and really shown themselves to be among the best people in crypto. Stories have been heartbreaking and the losses are terrible, but it's also been encouraging to see community members organize themselves and fight back for their interest in all of this mess. There were a lot of people, from Bitcoin OGs like Simon Dixon to anonymous Celsius Twitter warriors, who sifted through endless examiner reports, bankruptcy filings, and gave detailed reviews of proposals for the new company that seemed likely to emerge from this bankruptcy process. Regardless of how bad the situation was, it was great to see so many smart people and Tiffany Fong put their heads together on this one. That was a joke. We love Tiffany. Okay, so where do things stand as of today? Well, first, it looks like they're going to offer sell tokens at 20 cents, the value at the ICO instead of the 81 cents it was at the time of the bankruptcy. Fahrenheit's probably going to win the bid and become the new company that merges out of the bankruptcy, with no connection to the prior Celsius company other than the obvious connection of the new name being a play on Celsius. Very cute, but also kind of dumb, if you ask me. Should have named it Kelvin. It's actually the metric system. On June 27th, Fahrenheit released their disclosure statement of detailing their plan to conclude bankruptcy and launch their new company. It's over 300 pages, so we'll leave a link in the description if you're looking for a fun beach read this summer. The gist of it is, Celsius earned creditors could receive about 36.4% of liquid crypto and 33.3% of recovery stock for a total of about 70% recovery of their assets on the platform. Here's a much more detailed breakdown of how they plan to compensate different users of different types if you want to pause the video and take a closer look. Simply put, Fahrenheit's plan is to try to use the Celsius mining operations as a new business, go public, and then issue the recovery stock to users. The idea is that it will become more valuable in the future and thereby at least have a chance at making everyone whole. In my opinion, this is very risky. But all things considered, I do think this is a better deal than nothing, or of course, just dumping all the assets in the midst of the bear market It was a terrible idea to sell the altcoins for Bitcoin and Ethereum recently. That was pretty much the bottom of the altcoin market. But the thing that really bothered me about all this were the retail clawbacks. The idea that the court might demand users who withdrew their crypto prior to the collapse of Celsius to return all or some of that crypto. In my view, this is completely intolerable, and I've made that very clear. People who are smart enough to jump off a sinking ship, well, they deserve to live. I support going after insiders who withdrew millions before the collapse, people like Alex, his wife Chrissy, Daniel Leon, and Nuke Goldstein. And to their credit, Fahrenheit and the UCC are doing that. But to come after the life savings of individuals who are smart enough to bail, that's unacceptable. I voiced his opinion several times, even calling some lawyers on some exciting live streams back in the day.
Hi, this is Greg Pesh. I'm at White and Case. How are you?
Hey, Greg Pesh, how are you doing?
Fine. I've got your voicemail.
Okay.
What can I do for you?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, about the retail clawbacks and the fact that people are literally talking about killing themselves. That you have a decision in front of you guys for rough justice, as your friend Keith said. And I would like to know, why is this decision that pads all of your own pockets, that the lawyers are making all the money on this, why are you guys deciding to screw over the everyday person? This got me, AJ, and Aaron kicked out of a few offices in New York, for sure. Some of them even sent people to my house to try to threaten me. Good luck. All because I was standing up for the little guy and calling out their attempts to attack retail investors for Celsius's negligence. Under no circumstance would I allow them to line their own pockets with the money they wanted to recover. Basically, I think I'm like the Batman of crypto. BitBoy, if you will. Smash the like button if you like those cherished BitBoy memories. As you can tell, this whole situation makes my blood boil, but the key takeaway from all of this is that it proves the need for crypto. It proves we need a system of truth, not trust. And it shows once again that you cannot trust centralized players. You shouldn't have to. Join the BitLab Academy if you want help learning how to navigate the world of crypto. And by the way, this is a lesson we've had to relearn the hard way too. I had millions of dollars of crypto, including my XRP, locked up on Celsius. So for those of you who got hurt by this, I just want you to know, I see you, I feel you, I'm with you. If I'm with you and I'm feeling you, that may be weird. But don't lose hope. We can rebuild and get through this together, and I know that we will. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling. The last time I saw Alex and Chrissy Mashinsky was at NFT NYC in 2023 with my friend Tiffany. I tried then to get an interview with him, but of course he turned me down. Then on July 14, 2023, justice was finally served as Alex Mashinsky was placed under arrest and charged with securities, commodities, and wire fraud, as well as various securities manipulation and fraud charges. Of course, he pled not guilty and was released on a $40 million bail, but I think there's going to be some prison time in Mashinsky's future. I think the main thing that's going to get him is trying to suppress the truth very clearly towards the end. With that being said, I think it's important to point out that there was some truth in the ramblings that Alex was spouting every week in his AMAs, but I digress. Here's the point of the message I want you to take away from this. Banks are not your friend. And if crypto is to replace TradFi, we do need a lot of the basic financial services that Celsius are trying to offer. But for that to be done right, it has to be done carefully. I will also say that in talking to a lot of people with insider knowledge and cryptographic proof, there does seem to be a lot more to this story. As we know, FTX was artificially manipulating the price of ICP, Newcoin, Reef, Casper, several other projects. I've seen what I consider to be credible evidence in the long-standing rumors of the Cell community that Alameda Research was shorting Cell token on FTX with $20 million of counterfeit Cell tokens. I'm not sure when or how all of this will come to light or how it will play out, but what's important for now is that you stay educated about the progressing bankruptcy process, stay informed about how to protect yourself. And that's what Alex was trying to do in a sense that triggered all this. Alex Mashinsky went to the Bahamas in January of 2022. He took one look at the FTX office and knew he had made a big mistake by putting Celsius funds in the form of Tether of USDT on FTX to earn yield. So he removes all of the Tether early in 2022, and this is what causes Sam to have a vendetta against him and specifically goes after Celsius. Now, one resource that's been very helpful for me is the Retail Clawback Protection Group on Telegram, which I highly encourage you to join if you might be at risk of a clawback. They're currently in the process of organizing a coordinated legal defense. I urge you to consider getting involved if you think you might get clawbacks. We'll leave you a link in the description so you can find them and get up to speed. As the Celsius saga continues and the new company Fahrenheit seems poised to emerge, it's important that we all take a moment to reflect and take the temperature on why we're in crypto. And make sure that we carry the lessons of the Celsius collapse forward so we can be prepared to avoid similar situations in the future when the heat gets turned up. Until then, keep building, stay humble, and keep carrying the banner of rough justice. That's all I got. Be blessed. BitBoy out.